What's up, knuckleheads? I'm Lupine Fiasco, this is Daily Kayo Gameplay, and today we have a match against Victor. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the lines I would take now, then compare that to the line I took at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like ProQuests or Road to Nationals, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, a FaB deck link is available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily Kayo gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. For those who want to go above and beyond, the best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the daily FaB gameplay Discord. At higher tier levels, your name will be featured in every DKG video. You'll get bonus DKG content every week, and there are even more benefits to come. Daily Kayo gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can't afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Let's talk about our sideboard, and I'll give some thoughts on the Kayo-Victor matchup. I'm starting my Kayo journey mostly blind. I have a few friends that are working to crack the deck as well, but I'm honestly not able to help much. Truth be told, I'm a pilot and not an engineer. Deck building has never been my strength or something I care to work on. Give me a tuned list to play with and eventually I'll make some tweaks, but starting from scratch is a bad way for me to go. So without a better place to start, this video and the next will feature We Make Best's Berserk list. They explain the list in more detail in their video than I can, but for our purpose, think of it like you would Hybrid Dash. It plays Berserk aggro when it won't be disrupted, and mid-range when it will. Unlike Bravo, current builds of Victor don't run much disruption. At the very least, Victor can't play Crippling Crush or Starstruck. Outside of that, the nature of Clash disincentivizes Vic from playing disruptive non-attacks like Terra Sunder or Pummel. The hero accumulates value through clashes and card advantage, but that won't matter to us if we can combo off with Berserk and Bloodrush Bellow. The Berserk plan has us boarding in our Berserk and go again non-blocks like Wild Ride and Yellow Pulping. I'm making a call here to play with Tunic instead of Heartened Crosstrap, but I'll admit that may be wrong. My Victor experience comes from FaB, who has a much harder time pushing damage against the Golden Boy on an average turn cycle. I have a lot to learn about Kayo if I'm going to have any hope of winning an RTN with him, so let's jump into it now. We have won the die roll. We're putting Victor first. I honestly can't see when it would be wrong for Kayo to go second outside of a few matchups, and I do not count Victor as one of them. Kayo definitely has more ways than most heroes to take advantage of a turn 1 start, be it making a might token, making an agility token, or even just putting a counter on Spring Tunic. But I think those are more silver linings on a bad situation. I don't think that Kayo has enough ways to take advantage of turn 1 in a meaningful way that outweigh the benefits of just being the first one to attack a life total or hand size directly. So Victor gets to make his Seismic Surge, he gets to heave a Thunderquake, and we don't get to filter what is otherwise a pretty bad hand. We can certainly do things with this hand, and we will. The line I see here is playing Pound Town. We're going to pitch a Savage Feast and a Beast Within to do so, then discard our second Beast Within to Pound Town's Beat Chest. We'll make one Might token from Pound Town, a second one from Kayo, and we will draw a card from Beast Within. We'll lose a point of life to do so, at least 1 point of life, possibly more. But we do get an arsenal. We are generating 2 might tokens, and we are threatening Victor's life total with something. And of course, it's just 5 damage. It's very likely that Victor gets to clash off of this attack. That isn't the worst thing for us. What is really cool about playing Kayo into Victor, as I've learned, is that we actually win clashes like we just did. As FaB, we never win any clash ever unless Vic has a non-attack action on top of the deck. But as Kayo, the minimum attack power in our deck for the purpose of clashing is 6. It can only go up from there. So we make a Vigor. We are going to discard the Agile windup that we drew from our Beast Within. I don't think it is important enough that we have a 3 for 5 in Arsenal that we wouldn't rather make an agility token. We know it's very likely that we are only taking 8 damage from this Thunderquake. There's no disruption tied to this. What we didn't know is that the hand we would draw into really limits our defensive options here. We are making a resource based on the Vigor token we have, but we can only block this Thunderquake with a blue Assault and Battery. We really want that Assault and Battery to pay for our turn. Assault and Battery plus Apex Bonebreaker doesn't make a Might token, so there really just isn't any reason to block this Thunderquake. It's only 8 damage. There's no on-hit tied to this. We'll go to 31. On our turn, we can Pulping Claw, Wild Ride, or maybe play another 2 for 8 if we draw that from the draw discard effect of Wild Ride. We don't. We draw into another yellow Wild Ride. So we have a couple options for how we want to play out the rest of this turn. We could Claw Wild Ride, or we could Wild Ride Claw. And I am more of a fan of Wild Ride here. I agree with what I did in the past. We are getting less guaranteed damage this turn. If we send Claw Wild Ride, we are absolutely pushing 8 more damage. The difference being that 3 damage from Claw doesn't really equate to much against Victor. He has a deck full of blocks. He's totally fine to just block 3 damage and try to get clash value. If we take this line instead, and we draw into something good off of the draw discard of Wild Ride, which we did, we draw a Swing Big, then we get to set it into our arsenal for a future turn. If we draw poorly, another blue Agile Windup or another blue that we don't want in our arsenal, we have an action point from the Wild Ride go again, and then we can attack with Claw, just to keep a junky card out of our arsenal. So I really like this line. We're pushing less damage this turn, but we are setting up to deal more damage on a future turn. Here we have a Primed to Fight coming for just 9. I feel like without an agility token, this is a pretty easy block. We are incentivized to block this. We could block this in any number of ways. We could block with 2 Wrecker Romps and Assault and Battery for 9, take no damage, then pitch our send backing to send Swing Big. For 8, I don't love that line, again, because there is no disruption tied to this Primed to Fight. I like blocking this with a Wrecker Romp and our Bonebreaker. We prevent 5 points of damage, we generate a Might token from the Bonebreaker effect, and on our turn, we get to attack with Assault and Battery and discard our Send Packing to Beat Chest to make an Agility. So we are attacking for 9 this turn. We're making an Agility. That will pair very well with the Swing Big we still have in our arsenal. And we're going to be in really, really good shape. Not this turn, but next turn. We get 2 Test of Strengths from Victor, really hoping we can win the first clash. We don't. So Victor just going to make 1 gold, interestingly, draw a card from Victor's effect, then tie the second clash, choosing not to reroll, which I think makes a lot of sense. So Victor does get his gold, go back up to 3 cards, and thankfully is not able to convert them into anything aside from a Miller's Grindstone, which we will take. We do lose a Berserk off the top of our deck, which is a little unfortunate. At the same time, we do have a Blood Rush Bellow in hand, and our Tunic is available. So this Blood Rush does a couple of things for us. The first is that it powers up our turn cycle, as any Blood Rush Bellow does. The second is that it gives us an opportunity to draw a blue off the top of our deck. We would really like a blue to get this turn started, and fortunately we do draw into it. So with our agility, we want to open the turn with anything that isn't Wild Ride, and we have a few options for how to do that. Likely either Bare Fangs or Swing Big. Opening with Wage Agility here does not sound like a great line. Victor has plenty of armor and cards in hand to block it, so we wouldn't feel comfortable waging agility. It would take our entire blue to play, which just leaves us with pitching 2 reds for Swing Big. Overall, that is a 19.5 card hand, which is pretty good. It's definitely above rate, but I think we could get even more above rate, especially if this Bare Fangs draws us into another blue. So I really like leading with Bare Fangs here. We pitch our blue, we'll float a resource. We can evaluate what our turn looks like based on the draw discard. We do draw a blue, then immediately discard it, unfortunately. And with Victor giving us the Quicken, and without having a blue in hand, we really can't take advantage of it. That's fine. We're still pushing 4 points of damage with this attack. We win a clash. We even win the reroll. And we are in a really great position to continue to threaten Victor's life total. With 2 cards in hand, 1 floating resource, there really is only one option here. With another resource, I would love to work a Mandible Claw into this turn, but we are 1 short of being able to claw and Swing Big. So we are just going to pitch Wage Agility to Swing Big for 10, and we'll arsenal this Wild Ride. Again, just setting up for future turns where we can. The Swing Big is coming in for 10. Victor could give us his entire hand and Armor Suite to generate the Quicken, which he then wouldn't be able to use, instead choosing to take 5 and cycling out the arsenal. So I'm feeling really, really good about our position. We are 4 points of life down, but with 2 cards in hand and no Seismic Surge, I'm not expecting anything besides Hammer, which I'm just happy to take. Looking at what we have in hand, we can pitch our Yellow Pulping to our Berserk, or we could even pitch our Berserk to Wild Ride. If we discard Bare Fangs and draw into a card, we can follow up with Wage Agility. If we discard our Wage Agility and draw into something, we can Bare Fangs. If we discard either of our reds and draw into something, we could Pulping. We have a lot of options available if we just pitch this Berserk, which is what I'm looking at doing here. So we'll take this 4. Victor reveals Golden Sun off the top of his deck, which ties with our Send Packing thanks to our Kayo effect. So Victor now has the choice to destroy his shield and reroll. He's incentivized to do so because he wants to make the gold from Golden Sun's effect on reveal, then draw Golden Sun. But Victor gets unlucky in that we reveal another 6 on top of our deck, which ties Golden Sun. So a really, really good break for us. The Grindstone doesn't get its -1 counter because Victor didn't lose a clash, he just didn't win. But that is more than good enough for us if Victor isn't making that gold and drawing a card from the Golden Sun effect. We're going to open with our Wild Ride. We're going to pitch our Berserk. Oh, that's right. We can play the Berserk because we have the Vigor. I forgot about that. Okay, this is a much better line. Unfortunately, we reveal a Berserk from our Berserk, so we don't get to actually draw a card, which is a real shame. We also know that because we have a Berserk on top of our deck, we are going to at least lose the first reveal from Trounce. We end up winning the second, so Victor doesn't get his effect. But it is unfortunate that Berserk kind of screwed us up a bit. Thankfully, the Berserk we played does still draw us a card. Drawing Bear Fangs here is fantastic. We can't play it this turn, but it's a great card to stick into Arsenal. Bear Fangs is very quickly becoming one of my favorite cards in Kayo. I think it's just super solid. It's a 2-for-9 with the Kayo effect. We have Blood Rush Bellow. We have a blue. We are not blocking Grindstone here. We really just are not incentivized to do so. We can take our 5 and go to 14. We save all of our armor. We've seen a number of non-attack actions at this point, so we're looking more and more likely to start winning a clash. But we just really want to keep this hand. Blood Rush Bellow, a blue, and 2 6s that will definitely work with Blood Rush are just looking great. Victor does lose the clash, so the Grindstone is going to get its -1 counter, which will make it easier to block in the future, and we are going to Blood Rush and see what happens. Hoping to draw into some Go again here. Keeping our Pulping is really nice. We will open with Pulping, taking advantage of the fact that Victors do not tend to run defense reactions. It is unlikely that our Pulping will lose its Go again, so we can afford to go with it first before attacking with Claw. At this point, we are looking to get our Blood Rush value, so still, unfortunately, short of being able to Wild Ride Swing Big, so we'll just Claw Swing Big instead. It's been my experience with Kayo so far, is he is so often one resource short of being able to do the thing you want to do. And I really like having Tunic here to supplement that. Someone in my playgroup has also floated the idea of Skullcrack, which I think is probably going to work its way into my deck at some point. It seems like just a very solid card. It's a 2-for-6 that makes a resource when I discard it, and I am very often short a resource. Drawing into a hand here that does not convert well to damage because we have no agility. I don't remember if we've seen it off of a clash at this point to know that Victor is running Pummel. He might have blocked with one, he might have clashed with one, he might have pitched one. Victor is very obviously broadcasting Pummel here, 2 floating resources, a card in Arsenal that's been there for a minute. We're at 14, so we're already incentivized to block this Spinal Crush, just because we can't convert this hand. But we also want to block because if we don't block, we die to Pummel Spinal Crush for 14 damage. So we can block this with Flesh Bag, Bone Breaker, Scab Skins, and looking like this Wage Agility. There's a choice to make between whether we want to block with Swing Big or Wage Agility. We definitely can't block with either blue because we want to get our Bone Breaker trigger. And we need to keep both of these blues so that we can discard one to Pummel. So if we block with Swing Big, we prevent 1 point of damage because we're blocking for 3 instead of 2 with Wage Agility, but we're dealing one less point of damage on our turn with the Wage Agility, where if we block with Wage Agility, we take 1 more point of damage, but attack for 1 more point of damage. Considering the game state, that Victor is at an effective 5 with his armor block on the gloves. We will attack for 10 with Swing Big. Victor will need to give us 2 cards from hand as opposed to 9 with Wage Agility. Victor would only need to give us 2 cards from hand and go to 1. Swing Big for 10, Victor needs to give us 2 cards from hand and the gloves. So here I am going to block with my equipment loadout outside of Tunic and my Wage Agility. We'll take 1 extra point of damage, but we are sending back 10. But ultimately, we are an aggro deck, so if we can press a button that says I take a point of damage, you take a point of damage, we would do that infinitely because we are at a higher life total. So let's put some pressure on Vic and really force him to give us cards from hand. He has no Seismic Surge. He does have a gold, so it's possible that he could find a 2-card 8 with a Chokeslam or a Debilitate. But we have our Tunic available to block with. We have the back half of our Scab Skins. We'll have cards in hand. So we're putting meaningful pressure on Victor. Here he is just going to give us a full 3 cards. We tie the Clash. So neither of us gets the benefit, but Victor here still taking a point of damage. Going to 3, we are sitting at a comfortable 7. We don't need to block the Grindstone if we don't want to. Based on what's in our hand, we do want to block with a 3 block, one of our blues. We cover up the Grindstone damage. We will Assault and Batter with the Beat Chest effect to push 7, which is still going to get 2 cards from Victor's hand at least, and give us the agility to try and convert our next 4-card hand to lethal. Getting 2 cards from Vic, the last piece of his blocking equipment. Again, he's in a position where he could 2-card 8, but I'm just feeling really good about the board state here. We have multiple blues. We have this Savage Feast that we will start with. It will attack for 7. It will cycle our hand a bit to turn on Claw and hopefully draw us into something better than what we have here. No floating resources from Victor. He is not threatening a pummel, so we will just take 3 and go to 4. We win the Clash, so Grindstone goes down to 2 power. Not that it really matters. Looking at this hand, there is no reason to discard a windup. We already have our agility, and we just want a blue available in case Savage Feast discards our pulping. We will at least be able to Savage Feast, Claw, something. We have our Tunic up in case we draw into a 3-cost attack, like Send Packing. We do discard our pulping and keep our blue, so it doesn't matter, but had we discarded our blue and kept our yellow instead, we would still be able to send this Send Packing at the end of our turn. So we're going to pick up a win here. Claw gets blocked, but of course Send Packing going to threaten lethal over the card in Victor's hand, and it doesn't matter what's in the arsenal because it's gone now. So we'll give Victor the old good game. We'll see that we threatened 13.6 value per turn, and Victor in fact threatened more. His, of course, being defensive value for the most part with some good attacks thrown in, and ours being the opposite. But really interesting to see how much value Kayo gets on his turn cycles and how he's winning games, even though he's not necessarily threatening the most value. Overall, I think that game went really well. This is one of my first Kayo games with the We Make Best list. I had tried a few other games with a list that I tried to make myself, and they did not go well. The most obvious advantage that Kayo brings against Victor is the ability to actually win a clash. This game went fairly well for Vic in the clash department outside of that double tie on the Golden Sun reveal, but I've had other Vic games that went much better for me as far as generating multiple gold tokens from Victor's clashes. getting value for myself and denying value to him. And generating value from opposing clashes is a huge deal for Kayo. We saw the Vigor generation that I didn't even keep track of here that let us play Berserk while keeping 3 cards in hand. It's really good to win clashes. A low non-attack action count means we're very likely to reveal at least a KO 6 with a good chance at a KO 9, and generating our own value while denying it to Vic will keep our return cycle strong and him on the back foot like we saw here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you are one of the FaB converts looking for a new deck in the heavy hitters meta, then I've really been enjoying Kayo. And hopefully we can all learn a little something about the hero together. If that sounds good to you, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you haven't already done so, I would ask you to please subscribe to my channel. It's free, helps me a lot. Whether you do or you don't, I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily Kayo gameplay. Until then, take care.